Hello, everybody. All right, I see everybody's coming in. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today at the busiest time of year. I know this is an excellent time to take an hour off and join in on a webinar. So glad you guys could take time to join us today, and we wanted to focus on something that is pretty timely for everyone. So this is our gift processing and receipting extravaganza, which has become a bit of an annual tradition here. Every December, we focus in on this because we know that this is when you're going to be doing the most gift entry. You could use a few tips and tricks. And of course, you're also preparing to send out your annual statements. So we're going to look at all of those things today. And before we dive into it, and we have a ton to cover as always in this hour, but first, just a few housekeeping items. So everybody knows today's presentation is being recorded, and we will be making it available on the Training Academy page, right, where all of our webinar recordings are in our new support center. Now, because we are recording, everyone has been muted. That way we can get some pretty good sound, and I think especially now that we're all used to the Zoom world, that's pretty standard. But if you do have a question, please do send that in. Again, this is your opportunity to ask a question. You've got the training guy here for an hour, so just go ahead and use the Q&A box. You can type in any question that you have. We're going to hold those questions until we get towards the end of the session. But if something comes to mind as we're talking through all of our content today, go ahead and pop it in there, and we'll address those in the order that they come in once we get to that point. So briefly, for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Scott Richards. I'm the Director of Training and Education here at Virtuous. Excited to be talking to all of you again here at the end of 2020. Seems hard to believe. And like I said, we've got a ton to cover today. Our agenda is chock-a-block full. So as always, we want to take a look at some of the latest features in Virtuous. So we're going to look at some of the new peer-to-peer tracking features. We'll look at some of the improvements to the Gift Ask pipeline and some of the new task features and improvements. Those all came out in our most recent release. And then we'll dive into our featured content, taking a look at some tips about gift processing. Not just, hey, how do I enter gifts? I think everybody's kind of got that down. But some of the finer points, some of the things that might trip you up, especially now as your volume goes up. We want to look at some of those things that can help you get through those things a little bit more quickly. Then we'll take a look at the receipting tool. Now, we've looked at that previously, right? The new receipting tool came out earlier this year, but we'll take a brief look at that because that does go hand in hand with gift processing. And then what we really want to spend a little bit more time talking about is your annual statements, year-end statements, so that you're ready to do that in January and get those out to everybody in your database. Now, the nice thing is there's not a huge difference in process between your daily receipting and your annual receipts, right? There's a lot of the same things that you've already done to create your daily receipts. You're going to use some of those same skills, the same tools and features to do your year-end statements. Okay, and again, as we go through, if you have questions, please go ahead and type those in. Happy to address those. Okay, so first things first, we wanted to go ahead and take a look at some of those latest developments. So we'll go ahead and dive in to do that in the tool. Today's session is going to be a little bit lighter on some of the PowerPoint content. We don't have a lot of theoretical content for everybody today, but we will spend a little bit more time in the tool, which is always kind of nice. So first off, we wanted to talk about the peer-to-peer functionality. Let's slide on over here into Virtuous proper. Here we go. Now, this is something that I know a lot of folks are already doing, and it's been difficult to track in Virtuous. Hey, we've got a run walk. We've got folks who are doing peer-to-peer outreach and fundraising, and we want to be able to track what have they raised. And until now, I know that there are some clients, some of you maybe, who have been tracking that as pass-through giving because it was the only option available to you, but it's not ideal. Right? Then that giving gets rolled into someone's giving statistics when you use the plus pass-through statistics. It's hard to distinguish DAF, donor advised fund giving, from something that someone is raising, or someone's giving through their family foundation from funds that have been raised. It really muddies the picture. So now you've got a much cleaner way to be able to track some of that. Okay, and actually I've set us up here in another environment where I've got some examples already put together. So here is your friend and mine, Cap himself, Steve Rogers. He's a good guy. And he also has put together a team. He's been a team captain for one of our events this year. And if I go to the giving tab on his record, then you can see in the lower right that we've got a peer-to-peer segment for him. And it's right down here, right? He put together a team, his Howling Commandos, for our virtual turkey trot event this year. Okay, so that's a segment that's been assigned to him. And so the way that this peer-to-peer tracking works is you are going to be able to connect a contact to a segment code to specify that that contact is the fundraiser for all gifts that have that segment code. Okay. Then as gifts come in with that segment code, so his segment code here is CAP 616, I'll be able to credit those to that contact as the fundraiser. And here on the Giving tab, there's a new tab in here where I can see peer-to-peer or influenced gifts. And so I've got 6 gifts that have come in that Cap raised, gifts to his team, and I can see the total in terms of what he has raised. Now, those of you that have been have a keen eye, let's say, may have already noticed we can see some of this data right up at the top of the screen because I've added the peer-to-peer overview contact widget. Okay, this is a new contact widget that came out as part of this, so that now I can see how much someone has raised this year and life to date, and how many total donors, how many folks have donated to them as a fundraiser. Now, if I wanted to set up a new peer-to-peer segment for Steve, I can do that right here. I've got a little add button, and I can do one of two things. I can search for any of my existing segments, okay, if I wanted to be able to add him to that segment as the fundraiser. So if I select this segment here, which already exists, he'll be added as the fundraiser. Or maybe I don't have the segment yet. Well, I can create a brand new one right from here. And I can search for the campaign communication. We can search for our virtual turkey trot, and I can plug in a new segment name and segment code. The segment code still has to be unique, right? This is still fitting into our campaign structure, but that will set Steve as the fundraiser for that segment. Now, I don't have to do this from the contact record. That's totally fine. I could also do this when I'm creating my segments as part of my campaign setup. So here for my 2020 peer-to-peer events campaign, I've got that virtual turkey trot. That's the communication. And then all the segments are going to be all these different teams, right? So these are all the peer-to-peer segments in here. I could go ahead and add a segment. And when I do, you'll see the field in here for fundraiser, and that's a contact search or a contact lookup. So I could go in and I could search for the contact record that I want to add in here, and I could set them as the fundraiser for that particular segment. Now, in addition to being able to see this on a contact record, being able to see it in that contact widget, things like that, we've also added, whoops, there we go. We've also added the ability to see this information in queries. And you'll be able to see this in 2 different places in the query tool. I can go in and build a contact query. And in my contact query, remember, that's where I can query for contacts and use certain giving statistics. So for example, if I want everyone who's life-to-date giving or life-to-date plus pass-through giving, right? If I want to include the pass-through gifts, everyone who's life-to-date plus pass-through giving is greater than $1,000. That would get me that list of those contacts, right? And now, in addition to being able to query on giving statistics, what have they given, I can also query on what someone has raised. And there's a number of statistics that are available here. And if you just type the word raised over here in that field, you'll see the different options. So I can filter, or I can query for everyone who has raised a certain amount life to date, right? Or year to date, or fiscal year to date. Hey, give me everybody who year to date has raised at least $1,000, right? Doesn't matter what campaign or what event. I just want everyone who's raised $1,000 this year as a fundraiser. Now, the nice thing is by using this, I don't necessarily have to use this for peer-to-peer. Obviously, this is focused on peer-to-peer fundraising, but certainly if you want to track your board's fundraising activity, track their give or get, well, you could use this same idea to have a segment code for each of those board members so that I can see, well, what have they raised? And I can track that on their contact record. So there are some nice applications of this beyond strictly peer-to-peer events. Now, I mentioned this shows up in two places in the query tool. So my contact query will let me find contacts based on their fundraising success or their fundraising activity. But I could also query for gifts. And remember, in a gift query, I'm going to get back a list of gifts. And here, I could go ahead and query for gifts based on the fundraiser. And I've got a couple of options. I could specify the fundraiser's contact ID. Right? That way, I can find all of the gifts. For example, if I wanted all the gifts Steve has raised, I could come in here and query for all the gifts where his contact ID is the fundraiser contact ID. Or if I use fundraiser, then I can just use is set or is not set. So if I wanted to see all the gifts that have a fundraiser identified, regardless of who, I could say, give me all the gifts where fundraiser is set. That would give me all of the peer-to-peer gifts in my database. Okay. So again, all of this is designed to work within the existing campaign structure. So I don't have to do anything different at the point of gift entry. I still put the segment code on the gift and that's it. But now, in addition to telling me, hey, what donor segment was someone in? What was the communication? What was the channel? What was the campaign? That segment can also tell me who was the fundraiser, who brought that money in. Okay. So if there are questions on that, again, please go ahead and send those in, but I want to keep moving because we've got so much to look at. So one of the other improvements that we wanted to look at was some changes to the gift ask pipeline. So we'll flip back over here. So if I go to that new little nav over here, I still consider it new. I know it's not so new anymore. I can go into the gift ask pipeline. And we've looked at this before too in this training webinar, but in this last release, we made some additions here. So number one, and I think this one's actually a big deal, even though it doesn't seem like it, is right up here at the top of the screen. We're now going to do all the math for you and show you the weighted and actual totals for all of the gift asks that are in my current view. And that'll change if I change the filters over here. Right? So if I said, hey, I don't just want mine, I want everybody's, or if I change the time frame, that'll change what's in the selection, that'll change the totals. But that way, at a glance, I can see, okay, how much do we have here in this pipeline view? Now, the pipeline still has all of these columns for all of my different gift ask statuses. But if you look closely at these cards, you'll notice that now they all have a little link to see more. Right? And so I can click on that and I can expand what I see in each of these. So that'll show me some more information about the contact. It'll even show me tasks if there are tasks assigned to me as the owner of this gift ask. So if I've got a couple of tasks for reaching out to Barry over here, it'll show me. And one other thing that you'll see, notice this line at the bottom here is red. Okay, the system is yelling at me about this particular ask. And that's because now we've started tracking the days in status. Okay, and that days in status, that is telling me, well, how long has this particular ask been stuck here at proposal sent? Okay, because I want to measure the velocity of these asks. How are they moving through? So if something's been at the same status for 60 days or 90 days, that might tell me, hey, that is stuck And we need to look at it. It's either got to move forward or maybe this is dead in the water and we shouldn't be counting it in our projection in our pipeline anymore, right? It's been there for too long. So that days in status can help me monitor that. Now, the reason why this has a red line is because not only can I track days in status, I can set thresholds for, hey, what's too long for staying at a particular status? Now here, this has only been there for 7 days. Right? And this is what you get when you have someone who's trying to show you this in a fake environment. But in my pipeline settings, for each of these, right, I have the ability to set my threshold. And for this, I set the threshold at 0, just so I could make sure we'd have something here in red. Okay, but you can set that threshold to be 60 days, 90 days, whatever you like. And then when you come into this screen at a glance, you can see, where do I have red? Okay, these are the asks that are stuck. I need to look at those first and see what's going on. If I'm managing a team of gift officers, I want to look for those so I can reach out to my gift officers, or if I'm doing a pipeline review with them every week, I can say, okay, I see we have 4 here that are stuck. Okay, so we need to go ahead and address these 4 here because they're not moving, right? And they've fallen behind our threshold for where they should be. Now, really neat, beyond just tracking this in the pipeline, we have added the days in status to the query tool for querying gift asks. And the nice thing about that is not only can you set the threshold here, but now that means that you could set up a query to find gift asks that have been stuck, right, past whatever threshold is sort of your boundary. And you could use that in an automated workflow. So that instead of just coming in and reviewing the pipeline, say every day, you could have tasks get created to say, hey, this gift ask is stuck. You need to go in and look at this. Hey, this gift ask has hit the threshold, or it's past the threshold. So you need to look at this. And that could be a task for a gift officer. That could be a task for a director of major gifts to make sure that you're staying on top of your team either way. Okay. So some cool things in here. All right, now the other thing we wanted to look at is tasks. And with tasks, one of these features is something that I think will be kind of popular only because I know we've had people ask for this for a long time. So if you remember in a previous release, we expanded some of what you have here in the task functionality. We added some additional tasks, tabs, excuse me, so you could see tasks that you've assigned to other team members so that you could see all tasks, right? So no matter who, no matter what. Now you'll notice the check boxes over here that will let me select all tasks at once or select individual tasks if I want to. I can use those check boxes to either bulk dismiss tasks. Maybe I created an automated task and I didn't mean to. Now I've got 45 tasks that I have no intention of completing. Well, I can dismiss them all at once. Or I can bulk reassign tasks. So maybe I need to go in here and use my filter and say, hey, give me all the tasks that are assigned to Fozzie Bear, great MGO, by the way. And I want to make sure I have all the tasks that are not completed or dismissed. You see, we have some that are checked off here. So I can say resolved is false. I want all the open tasks for Fozzie because Fozzie's moving to a new role. And so I want to reassign all of these. So now I could come in here and in bulk, I could reassign these tasks and I could assign them to a different team member. Or I could dismiss them if they're never going to be completed, either or. All right, like I said, that's something I know folks have asked for a while. I'm really glad we were able to push that out in the latest release. Now, the other change here is that just like the gift ask pipeline has that board view to it, a Kanban board, we've implemented the same type of view for tasks. So if you prefer to use Trello or any other tool like that, you can now visualize your tasks in the same way. You just click on the task board at the top of the screen, all right, and that'll show you all of your tasks. Now here it's saying that the assigned user is me. Again, it'll default to my tasks. and it'll look at a 60-day time period here. I can change those filters if I want to. They're just the defaults. And now I can see all the different task status buckets, things that have not been started or in progress, blocked, completed, dismissed, right? And I can manage my tasks from here. I can even come in here and edit the task. I can view the contact. I can work on that right from here. And just like your tasks screen, this will have a mix of tasks that are for contacts, tasks that are tied to campaigns or communications, grant tasks may be in here, all of the tasks that are assigned to you or whichever user it is that you want to focus on. Okay. So any questions on any of those features, again, please go ahead, send those in. I know we have some already. Happy to address those. But I want to make sure we have plenty of time to talk through our featured content. Gift processing and receiving extravaganza. I like calling it an extravaganza. I wish we had more balloons and confetti, but we are talking about gift processing after all, right? That's exciting in and of itself. That means money is going into the database. That's great. So, like I said, I wanted to focus in on a couple of features here, a couple of things in the import tool to make life a little bit easier. Now, some of these are features that have been released, say, over the last year or so. Some of them have been there for a while, but they're not things that come up necessarily day to day. Or even if they do, maybe you have a workaround or something else for these things. But again, once you get to, December, all of these things become magnified because the volume's going up for everybody. And I know everybody's doing a lot more to get those gifts entered. So I wanted to look at a few of these things. Now, the first is something that came out earlier this year. But again, not sure everybody's aware of it or has tried it out, all those sorts of things. And it's the ability to bulk create contacts when you're in an import. Okay, and so here I've actually got a contact import up just because I have one here with a group of contacts. Okay, and in this particular import, if you look at the bottom, you'll see I've got 10 records where a match is needed, 3 where an update is needed, and 77 of them are already ready for import. That's swell. But then for each of these 10, of course, I have to click on it and I'll see there's no possible match. So I should create that contact and I have to do that manually each time. Now, the reason that our tool is structured like this is because no code at all will ever be as accurate as a human eyeballing these records, right? We can look at, hey, do addresses match or are they a close match, approximate match, first name, last name, email, phone, all of those data points, right? But at the end of the day, human intuition is always going to be better looking at 2 records and saying, there's a lot of similarities here, but they're different records, or, oh no, those actually are part of the same household. Let's put them together. So our software will look for possible matches. It will try to identify those possible matches for you, but then, we're going to have a point where, hey, it's going to be much better for you, the user, to take a look at that. Now, 10 contacts to create, that's not so bad. But like I said, now all your volume goes up. And so 10 becomes 30, becomes 50, becomes a lot to review. And as I run down this list, you can see a lot of these have no possible matches at all, right? Nothing going, nothing doing here. So the nice thing is now you have the ability to bulk create. Now, you may or may not see the option to bulk create contacts when you are in Virtuous, depending on what your administrator has chosen to allow, okay? Because this is an organizational setting. So as an admin, I can go in and I can go into team management and I can set up my organization preferences and settings. And one of the settings here is to enable the ability to create new contacts with no match on import, right? If that's not checked, you won't have the ability to do this, okay? But if your organization, if your administrator has chosen to allow this option, check that off right there. Make sure we update those settings. Then when you're in the import tool, you can go up to actions and you'll see this option here to create new contacts. So when I click on that, that'll tell me, hey, you will be creating up to 9 contacts. Am I good with that? I can check that box and I can proceed. Now let's talk about where that number comes from and what that means. Up to 9 contacts. Well, number one, we know that we have 10 records where a match is needed. So what gives? Why is it saying 9? I got 10 here. What's going on? Well, the thing is, I've got one record. Oh, I thought I remembered which one it was. And look at that. Oh, it's this guy here. One of those has a possible match. Anytime there's a possible match, we're not going to bulk create because, again, a human being is going to be better at eyeballing that and making that choice. So if there's a possible match, we won't bulk create those contacts. Okay, so that's why there's a difference between, hey, I've got 10 match needed. The system says it'll create up to 9. Now, the up to part seems weird. Why doesn't it just say 9 contacts? Why does it say up to 9? Well, every time the system creates a new contact, it's then going to look and say, okay, does this now match one of the other 9 contacts in this import? Because maybe 2 of these records are for someone in the same household. I don't want that bulk create to create duplicates. Again, the entire purpose of the import tool is to keep your data as clean as possible so that then you can trust your data. You can rely on it to do all of the cool things that you want to do, like have an automated workflow to welcome new donors, right? And have automations that kick off and send thank you emails and create tasks for thank you calls and all of those other cool things. I want to be able to trust my data so that I can let it work for me. Okay. So every time it creates a new contact, it'll then say, okay, does this now become a possible match for one of these other records? If that's the case, that second record, it won't get created. So I could run this and end up with only 8 records created. And when I come back, I'll go into match needed and there's 2 records left and they each have a possible match. That's why it says up to, as opposed to, hey, we're going to create 9 contacts. Here you go, Tiger. Okay. But it'll still cull all of the easy ones right out. So if I've got 50 new contacts that I've got to create or that are in match needed, I run bulk create, that's going to filter out all of the slam dunks. And now maybe I only have to review 10 or 15, right? Skim them right off the top. That's the idea. But we always want to err on the side of caution as opposed to, bulk creating records. And again, now creating data that's unreliable. That extra 5-10 minutes might feel like I don't have that right now. It's December. The extra 5 or 10 minutes is going to save a lot of headaches later when someone's getting streams of communication maybe they shouldn't be getting. Okay. So that's the bulk create option. Okay. Now, another one that I wanted to look at, and this one, again, might be coming up a little bit more now as you get towards the end of the year. So here's a gift import that I have. This was a little bit bigger file. We've got 5 records where a match is needed. Okay. Some of them have no possible matches. Some of them do. Again, I could bulk create there to whittle that down. I've got 381 gifts that ready for import. That's great. That's the bulk of them, right? I'm only looking at the exceptions here. And so the exception that I have here, right, is in my update needed. I've got 8 in update needed. Now, you may see this, and you guys may have already seen this, I'm not sure. But for this second record here, right, now I want to focus in on this example. Obviously, you guys already know update needed. It's going to tell me, hey, you got new addresses. Do you want to add them or ignore them? It's going to tell me if I have errors on the gift that need my attention. But every so often, you may run into this. So up here, I can see that this gift was matched to Donald Duck. Obviously, a real gift. This gift was matched to Donald Duck. We had enough data to establish a match. It didn't go to match needed. It went right into update needed, which means we've matched it to a contact already. But hey, there's something different here. We need you to take a look at it. And when I click on that, we can see that this gift came in and it's got Daisy Duck's name on it. Now the home phone is the same and the home address is the same and the last name is the same. So that's why we established the match. But here it's saying, hey, this first name value doesn't match this first name value. This is a great example of where, any algorithm that you write for a computer to do matching, it just can't replace the human brain. When I look at this, also knowing my Disney, I say immediately, hey, hold on. That's not just a different first name for Donald. I know the first letter is the same, first initial is the same. A lot of this has overlap. But I know that's a different person, part of the same household. But that's a different person, right? You may have the same thing. If I've been in your database for 5 years, it's just been me. I signed up for an event, I gave with my credit card. That's it. You don't have the full household data. And then my wife makes a donation. She's not going to match. Her name's not in the database, but you got a record with the same last name, same home address, right? She'll match to our record, and this same thing would happen. Now, when this happens, Virtuous is telling me, hey, this is Donald Duck and his name is different, but I know better. All I need to do here, right? If you look right next to Donald Duck's name, you see this little green box that says selected. When a gift comes in, we are looking to match to a person, to an individual on that record. And you'll always see that little green bubble to say, hey, the person that matched is this guy right here. And I say, well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to match to Donald. I'm fine matching to this contact, but not to him. Click on the little X right there. Then save and continue if you're going to keep working through, or save and close. Either or. Now that's going to stay here at needs updates or update needed, but when I click on it now, you're going to see the system said, okay, we're not matching to Donald, so it looks like you got a new individual here. Do you want to add her? Do you want to ignore it? Okay, so anytime you see that, hey, you're telling me this is the same person, I know it's a new person, all you have to do, click the X on that green bubble, save and continue or save and close, either or, and then it'll let you create that new individual. This also works both ways. So if that person's name comes in and it's very different and Virtuous says, oh, obviously a new person, but you look at it and you say, no, I know that that's his nickname. I know that's the same person. You can do this in reverse. So if the system is telling you create a new individual and you know that's not true, right up here on the little check mark, click on that. That'll select that individual as the match. Again, save and continue or save and close, either or, and then you end up right back here. Hey, we're matching to that individual, but it'll highlight the different data points, right, that aren't an exact match. So you can choose, do you want to update the existing record or do you want to ignore that data? Again, if it's a nickname, you might want to ignore it. I want to keep their actual name, first name in my database. Okay. Now, a couple of other quick things. Okay, so those are two bigger things I wanted to highlight. Again, both of those are really there to help you, especially pick up speed as you get here to the end of the year. Let's pull up an existing import. Already got this one going, pretty nice. Hey, look, George Clooney, he's a cool guy. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and add a gift. I apologize, I know that my Wi-Fi is a little slow. Hopefully the sound is okay. So let's say, here's an example that always dates me for sure. Let's say I'm entering gifts. I'm entering a gift for this particular donor, and they are someone who likes to support multiple projects, right? So they have gifts that are split multiple ways, kind of complex to enter it. And especially right now, it's not so bad to key in all those projects, but boy, it's going to take me an extra few seconds and I could use all the efficiency I could get. Well, the nice thing is once you've matched to the contact over on the right, you are going to see their history of recent gifts listed in here. And so if I have a $500 check from Boris, or I've got the copy at least of that $500 check from Boris, and he has indicated he wants to split it among either, hey, his usual projects, or he's listed them out, and I see, hey, that matches exactly what he's done before. He's done that a few times. All I need to do is click on the copy icon over here. That'll copy any one of these previous gifts or recent gifts that you see in here. It'll copy the amount, It'll copy the project splits, so I don't have to enter any of that in. It will not copy the segment because I'm probably going to have a new source for this new gift, right? Probably in response to my year-end mailer or something else, but it will copy the amount. It'll copy the splits. It'll even copy the gift type. If I needed to modify any of those, I could, and then I can just save and continue or save and close and keep on trucking through. Let's save and continue for kicks. Now, those of you that have recurring giving programs may already know this, but just in case you don't, let's go ahead and enter in a gift from someone who has a recurring gift. This guy, Adam Long, he's a good guy. Now, if I were to enter in a gift from him, put in $100. Now, maybe I get that from him as a check, and he says $100, and it's for my monthly gift, is the only thing he put in the memo line. Maybe he put in the project, I don't know. But all I need to do, right, I don't have to manually match to his recurring gift payment at all. If I simply save and close, and all I've put in is it's him, and I've put in the amount, save and close that gift. That's it. When I go over here and look at that gift, it's now ready for import. It's going to look a little bit different because you can see we matched this to his December payment for his recurring gift. And because we did, we've actually pulled in the project designation because we'll inherit the project from the recurring gift and we'll populate it on that gift. If I had put in the project, that's fine. But if I didn't, the system will apply it for me. So it'll automatically match. Now, when we do this, we are looking at who the donor is, the contact. We're going to look at the amount of the gift. We're going to look at the project on that gift. And we'll look at the date. And the date we're using to make sure we're matching to the correct outstanding payment, right? We know what day it is today. So obviously, it's probably for his December payment. So we'll match it there. The others, we're looking to see if we can match an existing recurring gift. Okay, so if I have another gift come in from Adam, there he is, and he gives another $100 gift. But in this case, the project is different. So here he's going to give to my, let's see, animals. Maybe my animal, conservation project. He's going to have $100 going there, and I save and close. When I look at that gift, we're going to see, hey, it's still from Adam Long. It's still for $100, but because it was going to a different project, we haven't matched it to his recurring gift. Now, the nice thing is that way, if someone, say they have multiple recurring gifts, they're supporting maybe 3 different field staff every month. Well, we're going to make sure we match to the correct recurring gift based on the project designation. Okay. Now, in addition to recurring gifts, let's delete this one just because. Pledges are also, they require matching, right, to the right pledge payment. So if I'm going to go in here and put in a gift, let's put in a gift from Schwab Charitable. Because maybe this is a donor advised fund gift coming in. So we got a gift coming in for about $5,000. It's going to the Urban Youth Project. There we go. Okay. Now down here, I'm going to click on Show All Gift Information, and I'm going to set a pass-through giver. Oliver here is giving this gift from his DAF. But Oliver actually has a pledge for the Urban Youth Project, right? The person makes the pledge, the donor makes the pledge, but the money might come in from their DAF. That's okay. Because as soon as I added him as a pass-through giver, you'll notice that in the recurring gift section and the pledge section, I can now look for pledges or recurring gifts that Oliver has, not that Schwab Charitable has. And so in here, I can see his expected payment of $5,000 due in December, and I could match the $5,000 to that pledge payment. Now, pledge payments do not get matched automatically in the same way that recurring payments do. So I have to go look for that pledge payment, but I can still match to a pledge that's on the donor's record or to a pledge that's on the pass-through giver's record, all in the same step here in the import tool. Okay, so those are a couple of the tips I wanted to highlight. I know we're already running out of time because there's just so much to chat about here. Let's go ahead and close this. We've got a few tabs open up here, try to consolidate a little bit. So as far as receipting goes on a daily basis, right from the gift import screen, I can click on the little paper button up here. That'll take me to the receipting tool. And the idea behind the receipting tool is that you could have as many different types of receipts, templates as you want that you send on a daily basis, or maybe you do it on a weekly basis, I don't know. And so you'll create all of your receipt templates. Here's the tab. You can see all my receipt templates that I've built. And then you can go ahead and create gift queries to identify the rules. Hey, for this template, what types of gifts get that template? Do I have a special template for gifts that include a premium? Then I build a gift query to identify gifts that have a premium. Do I have a special receipt template for major donors? Great, then that's going to be the receipt template for anyone who's tagged as major donor. Remember, tags can be included in gift queries. That's why they're great for tracking receipting preferences and things like that. And then I build out my receipting groups. I can create a new receipting group. And all that I do is I give that group a name and a code. I'll select the gift query that I'm using with this group, and I'll select the template that I'm using with that group. And once I've built these out, and I can put them in order, in priority order, top to bottom, right? Then I can come up here and queue my receipting. And when I do that, it'll say, hey, here's the date we're going to put on the receipt date. And which gifts did you want to include based on the create date? Remember, create date is when gifts are entered into the database. So I can say I want all the gifts from yesterday and today, and I queue my receipting run. Virtuous will run all those queries, and it will give me counts, how many people would get each of those receipts. And then I can look at that, and then I have a chance to either confirm it or dismiss that. So if the numbers look off, that's great. I haven't sent anything yet. If they look good, then I confirm. Email receipts then get sent right away. Paper receipts, I'll get a download in my downloads section where I can go download those PDFs, print them out, so I can mail them. That's your daily receipting process. Now for year-end statements, like I said, the process is very similar, okay? Because I'm going to use the same receipt template builder to build my year-end statement. Okay, so if I come in here and I say I want to create a new template, and this is going to be my 2020, annual statement. Let's say I like to do this by mail, that's fine. And here for the gifts per receipt, I want to make sure that I'm building a receipt that includes multiple gifts per receipt. That means, hey, if I have multiple gifts for one contact, I want to include all of them in a single receipt. You can choose how to handle envelopes. Do you want to download a separate CSV to print labels? Do you want to download a separate PDF so that you can print right on the envelopes and it'll say, hey, what's the return address name going to be? You could say no envelopes. Maybe you got it covered. No problem. Then I hit next and I end up in the receipt builder, and it is the exact same receipt editor that you use for your daily receipts, right? If I want to customize something about this, I want it to be legal size, anything, great. I can actually flip to the source code view and I can inject my styling. I just need to make sure that it's in the head, right, and not in the body of the receipt. Okay, then I can go ahead and I can insert things like my logo, right? So maybe I want to pull in my nonprofit logo. Here, let's grab a file and drop it in there. There we go. Hey, there's my logo, sweet. Okay, so now I've got that. Maybe I want to come in here and I want to make sure that I've got that centered. Great. I can make it a little larger or smaller depending on what I want to do. Right, and then I could keep on going and I could start typing out my content. Maybe in here, I want to start with the long receipt date. And then I want to do a little address block so I could put in the contact name. Now, to tighten up the spacing, hit Shift and Enter. And you'll see then I don't have any double spacing there. And I can pull in that primary full address. That'll let me create a nice address block. And then Dear, let's go with the contact informal name. All right, that'll be the first names. Unless you've customized your rules, it would typically be the first names of the primary and secondary individuals. Thanks so much for all your support. Whatever else I want to say. See below for your records. That's not a word. Let's fix that. Whew, boy. There we go. Now, the key here is what I'm going to use, the merge tag that I want to use is what's called the gift table. Okay, the gift table is going to let me pull in this table for all the giving. And I can customize this gift table a little bit, but when I have a multiple gifts per receipt template, that table is crucial. I can't include the gift amounts in the body of the text, but this table will then include all of the gifts someone has given that are included in my receipting run. And so if I come up here and I preview this, right, it'll give me a table of gifts like this. Someone who's been a monthly giver, they'll have 12 gifts in there. Some others might have 2 or 3. Someone who gives monthly to multiple different projects, a few times a month, they're going to have a whole mess of gifts in there. That's going to be great. They might have 36 rows. So it's going to be variable depending on how many gifts someone has. Excuse me. But that gift table is going to be the way that you include all those gifts in your receipt. Okay. Oh, whoops. I deleted our image up at the top. Well, that's fine. Now, once I've got this built out and I've done the preview, remember, you always want to print that preview out. Don't just look at it on the screen, right? But actually download it as a PDF. Look at what the spacing looks like. Print it out and see what it looks like on paper so you can make any changes you need to make. Then, when you got that set the way you want, you can go ahead and save that. We'll save and go back. Now your annual statement is all set. There it is. Okay, so now I've got my annual statement all set, but I want to do my year-end receipts. This is actually, frankly, it's the easy part. You're going to do this from a gift query, okay, because I want to grab all the gifts. And you're going to use your gift query to set the parameters for what gifts you want to receipt. So if I'm trying to receipt all the gifts from 2020, then I could come in and say, give me all the gifts where the gift date is between, here we go, 1/1/2020 and December 31st, 2020. That's every single gift in that year. If I want to add additional parameters, I know some folks will say, hey, and the gifts have to be above 250. I want to exclude stock gifts, based on type. Any other parameter I want to build in, I can because I'm using a gift query. That's why we use the query tool, because it's very flexible. Okay. Then once I've built that query and I'm viewing my results, from up here, I'm going to go to Actions, and I'm going to receipt these gifts. Okay, that's all that I need to do. So now I'm going to make sure that I select a PDF, and I can pick the template. There's the template name, 2020 Annual Statement. I can look at the preview. Okay, that's what it's going to look like. Now for the receipt date, this is tricky when you do annual statements. Right? Remember, when you receipt gifts, the receipt date gets set on the gift. When was this gift receipted? Well, I don't want to overwrite what's on the gifts, okay? So I'm going to leave that blank. I don't want to put anything in there. I don't want to overwrite what I've done before. That way I don't wipe out when the gift was originally receipted, okay? But when I hit save, that's going to run receipting. And so again, because I'm using multiple gifts per receipt, if I've got 25 gifts in here from contact A, it's going to loop through all of those and pull those into the receipt for contact A. So it'll give me a statement for everybody. So I'm using the gift query to set the parameters on what gifts I want to receipt. and then I can go ahead and run the receipting. Okay, I know we are dangerously close to time as it is. I apologize. It all went shorter when I was running through it, but I know we've got some questions coming in. I want to make sure that we can address these here, okay? So first question, would it be appropriate to use the gift ask pipeline to track grant proposals? So I don't know that appropriate is the right term, but I've got a lot more functionality by using the grant management section to track grant proposals. I can have grant tasks. I can store all the grant documents in there. I can keep track of the requirements for my grant, and I can link payments for that grant to the grant itself. So for me, I would stick with the grant management section. Now from there, don't forget that when you're in grant management, okay, we'll go to a little leaf there, I can see at the high level view, hey, when's the next task due for all of these grants? How many tasks are there? So, I mean, I can see that's very past due, but I can still keep an eye on, hey, what's the next thing that's due, right? But this is really designed to help me track all the other information that I need for my grant. So I would recommend that as opposed to the gift ask pipeline myself. So another question here on bulk creating contacts. This is great. What criteria determines if there's no possible match in the database? First and last name, last name, email, or just email address. So remember, we're matching on first name, last name, address, right? So address 1, address 2, city, state, zip. We're matching on email address. We're matching on phone, okay? So if we have more than one point of data that matches, we're going to show you a possible match, which is to say, if you have all of your donors live in Texas, we're not going to say, hey, you got another person where the state is Texas, they're probably a match. Now, the more data that you have on a record, the better. If I have an entire database filled with records that have only first name, last name, email, I've now got fewer points that can match. And so you have a higher likelihood of seeing possible matches because I've got fewer data points that I can use there. Okay, but we're using all of that data, first name, last name, address, phone number, email, to establish possible matches. Okay. Is there any way you can request Virtuous to send you a notice via email to inform you of a donation that was made? So the key here would be that you can do that, but you would be creating a task for yourself, right? Because ideally, if I'm getting a notification, it's because I want to do something with it, right? I want to go ahead and thank someone for the gift. I want to go ahead and reach out to them. And so you can use automation to set up rules to send you tasks so that you can reach out and say thank you once a gift comes in. Now, in addition to that, don't forget everybody has the ability to create some of the basic automated tasks in the system, right? If I go to create a new task, I can create an automated task and I can say, I want to get a task every time someone makes their first gift. Every time someone makes a single gift above whatever threshold I want to set. So I can create these and have those tasks get created for me, but my rule set here is pretty darn limited. Within automation, I can set my own parameters using a query, so I could limit it to only gifts to certain projects, right? Only donors in certain organization groups, only gifts that are between X and Y amount. I can get a lot more fine control if I do that through an automated workflow. Right? But that would be the way to be identified as gifts come in. Otherwise, remember, you can follow contacts, so you can see their giving activity right here on your dashboard, right? And you can also add the recent gifts widget, right? That's one of the widgets that you could add to your dashboard. So if you like to come in every day and just eyeball and see, hey, what's come in lately, that recent gifts widget is always going to show me, hey, what's going on? Right? And I can set the time frame that I want for that recent gifts widget too. So if I just want to look at the last 30 days, that's the default. Or I can expand that out and say, I want to look at the last 60 this year, whatever it is, but that'll always show me the most recent gifts. Can pass-through gifts be included on the gift table? No, they cannot. Because remember, the whole purpose of a pass-through gift is I cannot receipt you for that gift. I cannot send you a tax receipt. I can thank you up and down, and boy, howdy, I should, right? You're probably one of my best donors if you're giving pass-through gifts, but I cannot send you a tax receipt for that gift, okay? So I can't pull in, for example, the gift we entered for Oliver Queen, where he gave it from his donor advised fund through Schwab Charitable. I can't include that gift on Oliver Queen's annual statement because that's not something that is tax deductible for him, okay? If I chose to send a year-end statement to Schwab Charitable, I don't know why you would, but you could. That could be on their receipt, absolutely, but I can't include it on the pass-through giver's receipt. Can fair market value and tax deductible amount be put into the gift table in receipting? Yes, they can, 100%. You've got a whole bunch of merge fields that you can put in to the gift table. And when you are building a mail receipt, a paper receipt, you actually have a lot of customization available in terms of how that gift table gets built. And you can use any of the existing receipting merge fields, and you can pull those in to that gift table. And if you're curious, hey, I wonder what merge fields are available, well, you can actually see that. We have a support article on it. It's actually linked right there in the receipt builder. Okay, there's a support article that'll let you know, here's all the merge tags that are available in mail receipts, right? So I can pull in the premiums. I can pull in the actual gift amount, and then I can pull in the deductible amount for a gift. So I could show, thanks, hey, the gift was 100, the premiums you received were X and Y, the tax deductible amount was 75 for any of those gifts. Okay, what do you put in a query to run just one individual end of year statement and not multiple statements? Well, that's a trick question, okay? Because obviously I could run a gift query and I could use the contact ID, but I don't need to do that, okay? Because if I needed to rerun a single donor's year-end statement, Harry and Sally call me up February 1st and say, hey, I never got my year-end statement. I'm so sorry. So sorry, Harry and Sally. I can send you that right now. From the Giving tab of their contact record, click on the 3 dots, Annual Giving Statement. Okay, so you can choose if you're doing this through email or as a PDF. You can choose which template you want to use. These are all of my multiple gift per receipt templates only. Okay, the statement templates. And you're going to choose the year, 2020. That will by default include all of their gifts that were dated in 2020. And then you can run that and generate just a single year-end statement for just that donor. These are great questions. I wish we had stopped sooner. Form confirmation emails for donation and giving forms. Is there a merge tag to input gift date? I'd have to double check on that. I can't remember the last time I built a form confirmation email. I want to say that there is. Now remember, the key thing with the form confirmation email, the key differentiator between that and your receipt, the form confirmation email is a thank you, right? It's an acknowledgement that someone gave, but it's not a tax receipt, right? So I can't include, for example, anything about the tax deductibility of that gift in my form confirmation email, but I can say, hey, thanks so much for your gift. We appreciate it. I can pull in the amount and everything else. So if I look at my merge tags here, no, I have gift amount, but not gift date. So I would simply say, thank you so much for your gift of blank. Now, as far as the gift date goes, I don't know if I really need to merge it in, because remember that form confirmation email is going to go out right away. So if I go on your website and I donate right now, form confirmation email is going to be in my inbox right away. So it's responding to something in real time when it happens. Okay. Are we able to change a project code on a recurring gift? If the person originally gives through an appeal but wants to give to general giving a few months later, does a whole new recurring gift need to be set up, or what is the best way to do this? Well, you can simply edit the recurring gift and you can change the project designation for that gift, right? I don't have to do anything wacky or wild. Now, if I wanted to do that from the CRM, okay, this is where it's a little bit tricky. So we're talking about Virtuous Giving. Okay, because there's a couple scenarios here. So I'm assuming we're talking about someone who's giving through Virtuous Giving. If they're not, obviously you're going to change it in whatever platform you're using. If you're using Raise Donors, if you're using I Donate, wherever, you're going to change that. But for a recurring gift, remember, I can edit a recurring gift, and you'll see there's a button there to edit the project designations. Now, I have to keep this to $90. I can't change the amount, but I could change the project. And if I wanted to split this now as 45 to project A, 45 to project B, shoot, I can do that too. I gotta keep it in that $90. Okay. Now, if I do this here, the only way it's going to carry through to Virtuous Giving, I need to look and see if I have a little Virtuous logo. If I do, that tells me this recurring gift is linked to Virtuous Giving. So any change I make here will carry through to Virtuous Giving. If it's not linked from the CRM, then I can't change the project designation, but the donor can. They can go into the donor portal and they can adjust their gift. Okay. So real quickly, I know we're a couple minutes over our time. We had another question here about entering a matching gift from an organization. And the way that you would track that would be, you'd have to enter the gift on the organization's record. And if you wanted to note the employee as the pass-through, you could do that. Now you could theoretically do peer-to-peer, but I would still keep that as pass-through. At least for right now, that would be probably the best way to track that. Okay. And we had a question about changing the parent project of a sub-project after the sub-project has been created. No, once I create a sub-project, that lives where it lives. So I do have the ability to change the parent project, but it's a multi-step process. I have to create the new sub-project in the location where I want it to live. I'd have to edit all the gifts, recurring gifts, pledges, point them to the new project. Then I would delete the old project. Okay, so you can do it. It's just a few steps. Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for staying a couple minutes over time with me so we could get through those questions. I told you we had a lot to cover today. So as always, just remember, we have our webinars on the third Thursday of every month. So keep an eye out for our 2021 webinar announcement so that you can keep joining us. And instead of leaving you all with some sort of inspirational quote or anything else, happy holidays, everybody. I know that it's the busiest time of year, so everybody's kind of got their hair on fire, but hopefully you're also getting some time to spend with your family, at least some of your family. I know it's a weird year, but find some time to enjoy it. All right. Thanks, everybody.